Hello everyone, welcome back to the FrSky Steve channel. We are on the continuing quest to talk about telemetry. We're talking about modules now, and this is the first one we're going to talk about. The reason I like this one is it's our least expensive module, and it is one of the more common modules, and it's also a very powerful module. And because of that, I think you can get a lot out of it. And what we're going to do is we're going to do an overview on it in this video, and then the next video I'm going to show you how we can really get some mileage out of this by setting up special screens and having callouts made and all sorts of other good stuff. So let's not dilly-dally. Let's jump right into this. What is FLVS? I've been told it stands for FrSky Lipo Voltage Sensor. ADV is advanced. These are advanced sensors, which mean they work with FBus, and what that basically means is that it has a combination of both SBus and SmartPort, which makes FBus. Okay, so what is this thing? Well, you have one of these. If you have a LiPo battery, which I'm sure you do, you plug your LiPo battery into this set of wires right here, or pins, and you can get a current voltage reading. So you can get the total pack voltage reading, press the cell right here and get individual cell readings. These are great before the flight and after the flight. Before the flight, so you make sure your battery is actually full. Afterwards, to see if you maybe took it in too late or too early. But what if we had this in real time? Well, see these pins right here? They're the same as these pins right here. So essentially what this is something that does exactly the same thing. It checks your battery voltage, but it has something that hooks up to your receiver via FBus. And because it does that, you can get telemetry with your battery voltage in real time throughout your flight. What this means is that maybe you could stay up a little bit longer if you have some extra battery to kill, or maybe you've been flying too hard and it's time to take it down before you start to really whack your battery. So we are going to talk about this wonderful little unit. It measures your LiPo pack voltage, as I discussed before. It runs on 2S to 8S batteries. And if you have, let's say, a 12S, usually those are two 6S batteries put together. So you can get independent FLVSs for each of those. Jose has a video on this. You can display your total pack voltage in real time on your transmitter. You can also set up a call out, which we'll discuss how to do in the next video. And with the Lewis script, you can read the cell voltage and total pack voltage, which that means is that not only can you see the total pack voltage, but each of the individual cells as you're flying your plane. And so if you're interested in something like that, that's something that Lior puts out. He is the administrator and also a team pilot for FrSky out of Israel. Administrator on the group FrSky Jet Action. I completely recommend you check that group out. This is a small, light, inexpensive, and simple unit to set up. We're going to talk about that. These are the specs. Essentially, the things that you need to look at are that it's about 2 inches long and doesn't weigh very much, about 1/4 of an ounce. Measures between 2S and 8S, and it doesn't take up very much electricity, about 10 milliamps, and that's negligible. And what it has is voltage detection precision of 0.05 volts, so that's pretty darn precise. And it works in temperature ranges much colder than you dare to fly and much warmer than you dare to fly. And the one that has the screen on it, it's 128 by, I believe it says 64 pixels, and it's compatible not only with FBus but also with SmartPort. So there's two flavors of this unit. One comes with no screen and one comes with a screen, and I'll tell you which ones I like. It comes with this wonderful little silicone wire bundle here for you, and these things are actually really nice wires. I'm pretty impressed with them. They're long and very useful. The thing I will tell you is that you can kind of see, I'm sorry this is a bad image, but right here you can see that there's not one but two. The idea is that you plug one of these into your receiver and you plug the other one into this. And then if you need to let's say you want to put a GPS on there. Instead of running it to your receiver, all you would have to do is plug it into that second port right there. And even though they're both using the same plug going to the receiver, you can work with both of them simultaneously. And so that's the power of FBus. You can daisy chain things. The one with the screen is my personal favorite, and I'll tell you why later. We're going to talk about this thing. Remember we talked about this wire? Well, if you work with a TDR6, you can't use that wire because there's this 6-pin connector at the top of the TDR6, and that has a wire bundle on it. It's kind of big and gaudy and obvious, and what happens is there's 3 wires that are hooked up like a servo connector. That is your FBus connection, or SBus, a smart port I should say, depending how you set it up. Now, if you want to work with this, you actually have to plug it from here directly using that wire that comes in this bundle directly into this, and you get rid of this altogether. And it's not a great thing. Now, what's nice about the TD-R10 and the TD-SR10 is that you can, instead of hooking up into the side of this or into one of these ports, you can actually take any of these free ports and turn it into an FBus port. You do that in your transmitter, and when you do that, it gives you a lot more flexibility. First of all, you can use that cable, but you have the ability also to work with things like your servos and without having this big gaudy wire on there. Now, the other thing I'm going to show you, we're not going to talk too much about this because the more I think about it, the less important I think it actually is. We have something called AIN2, so it's just one wire. On here on the TDR10, it's this pin right here, and on the TDR6, it's this pin right here. And what does this thing do? It actually, you hook this up, if you're good at soldering, you take and solder a longer wire onto it, and you go into your ESC, and you go onto the red wire. That's all you have to do is hook this wire up to the red wire on the ESC. You have to solder it on and do a nice job of cleaning it up. I usually put them in the back of the ESC because you're not touching it as much as if the side where you plug in your battery. But if you're handy with the soldering iron, it's a no-brainer. And what this is a free, it does a very similar thing to what this FLVS does. It's a free pack voltage sensor. It is something that needs to be calibrated. Jose had a video out a couple years ago where he set it up for the first time and his calibration was way off. So he used one of these things right here to check his pack voltage as he was looking on the transmitter, and then he had to recalibrate the transmitter to make sure that what he saw on the screen matched with the pack voltage on that battery checker. So these things, again, this will push you back because you have to hook it up to either the port on the side of the receiver or at the top of the receiver. So not always the most elegant solution, and I don't know how sensitive and accurate it is. So I'm sure it's great, or it's fine. The one thing I will say about it is that you don't have to plug your FLVS into your balance port every time you put a new battery in, because it just does everything automatically. So it's nice in certain things. I'm not saying it's completely worthless, but I prefer the FLVS. And what we're going to do, these are a couple slides we're going to use on the next video. So we're going to talk about these. We're going to set up a display screen that will show your battery voltage. We'll also set up a call out on your radio so you can push a button and hear how much battery you have left. And we'll set up a low battery warning so that when you get to a low battery warning, and one of the questions you might have is, if you sag your battery, will this low battery voltage warning go off? And no, what we did is we're going to set up so you have to have this low battery meet the criteria of what we consider a low battery for a period of 5 seconds, and after those 5 seconds it will come true and you'll get all the shaking and the call outs letting you know it's time to land your plane. The other one, I'm really excited about this. This is one that I thought of my own. I'm sure other people have done this before. This is something I call a sag nag. So essentially, what happens is the more I'm reading about lipo batteries, the more I'm learning about how when you get them hot, the resistance goes up in the battery and it shortens the life. So one way to really do that is to take it out and open up the plane. I know you love opening up the plane and going to fly as fast as possible. When you open it up, sometimes, especially if a battery is kind of compromised, it may sag down to a lower voltage level than you possibly know. So what we've done, or we're going to talk about, is setting up a sag nag, which means that you have to have two things true. First of all, your voltage has to be sagging on your battery, and the second thing is your throttle has to be in a high position. When those two things are true, it's going to send you a haptic shock to let you know, like, maybe it's time to cut this out, and you can dial it back a little bit and hopefully save your battery. And then with that, the last thing we'll discuss is, do I like with or without screen? I know this is an individual preference. The one without screen is lighter, and it's better for things like lighters when you weight and size are important. But if you've got the space and you got the extra $2 for the price difference between the one with the screen versus the one without the screen, I think it's totally worth the money. And the reason why is because when you plug it in for the first time, you're going to be sure if you plug the battery in wrong, the screen won't light up. So when you plug it in right, the screen lights up. And you can look at all your cell voltage. That's a good time to look at it right before you fly to see if one of the cells is reading higher than the others. And then when you come to unplug it after the flight's over, you can glance at it one more time. Make sure the cells are all close to each other. If one's way out, that probably means your battery is starting to give out, and you might want to consider retiring it early. And with that, I do thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you on this next video where we go over all those neat things we're going to do with your FLVS sensor to make your flying experience a lot more enjoyable. Take care.